What's up, guys? Back in the garage shop again. Doing a little work on the Trans Am tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and assemble my fuel sending unit for the fuel injection. Before I was running a pump down on the frame rail. Well, not really the frame rail, but the unibody on the body there. There's the pump that was on it, is an external pump. I got a 88, I believe it's spec'd for like an 88 IROC Camaro fuel injection tank with a baffle and a sump. The sender is also 88 Camaro IROC or Trans Am GTA, anything with the TPI intake system. Anything with that will pretty much work for this setup. How I do it is I bought a Walbro 340 pump. That's plenty big. That's probably actually a little too big for this setup. But first things first, this is a Spectrum part. I have had some good luck with Spectrum in the past, and I've had some bad luck with Spectrum in the past. So what I'm going to do is actually bust out my multimeter and test my rheostat switch here to make sure I've got good ohmage full and empty. And then I will go ahead and bust out the fuel pump and the install kit and basically show you how I do my in-tank setups. I try to get cars that had factory EFI options like square bodies. 86, 87 had EFI options. Obviously the third gen went clear up to 92, so they had a Prefla. There's a whole bunch of EFI options for them. So I'm gonna go ahead and find my pump. It's down here in this stack of stuff somewhere. So we'll go ahead and dig it out and we'll get it up over here and I'll show you guys how I assemble my sending units. All right, guys, for your sakes, I went ahead and cut the fan off. So to do this, basically I used the 340 Walbro pump. Very good pump. Had used about 3 or 4 of them in the past. Had good luck with them. I buy their install kit for the Walbro 340. This is the part number right there. This is the standard install kit that comes with the sending unit. So you get those. You also get some instructions. These are kind of handy. I mean, throw them away. I don't care. If you can't make this hose and this kit work, you might get some submersible fuel line. I don't know if I'm going to need this, but I have some left over for another project. I don't have the part number. I can show you the part number on the pump. Automotive, made in USA. It's a the GSS 340 G3 pump. These are good pumps. Like I said, I've had good luck with them. Sometimes on these, you have to go ahead and grind this out a little bit to fit this pump, because this pump has got a big square on the bottom. And sometimes you can get away with filling it through there like that, but sometimes you do have to grind on that a little bit and open that up. Not hard if you got a burr tool or a sanding drum on a Dremel or something like that. It works really good for that. That's easy to do. So what I'm going to do is, like I said earlier, go ahead and grab my multimeter and test this to make sure it's good. I like to get that tested before I do anything further. So we'll grab my. All right. Switch her over to ohms here, and it is the comes up blue, comes out. That's B, which B is purple, and that's normally, I believe, the actual color for these. So right now I have 1.4 ohms. As a raised list, I got 10, 14, 15, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90.9, 90.91. So pretty much 90 full, 0 empty, which is 1.2 ohms empty. So that works. I don't gotta worry about that. Okay, so you can use your old sender too if you got a fuel injected car. So I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually put you guys on the tripod up on the bench facing down so you guys can see a little better. Alright guys, you're going to need a little more tools because this plug will not plug into that. That's what your install kit is for. It comes with a convenient plug right there. So you'll need some strippers, crimpers, and in my case, I'm using a heat gun because I'm going to be using some heat shrink butt connectors to do it. You're going to also need, they're not really needed, you can use the supplied hose clamps in the kit, but I'm going to use my high pressure hose clamps. Here, I'll go ahead and open this up here real quick. Show you the difference in case you guys have never seen a fuel injection hose clamp or a high pressure hose clamp versus just a traditional hose clamp. So, alrighty. Maybe. Alright, there's a traditional hose clamp. Everybody has seen a traditional hose clamp. Has your ribs. And now a high pressure hose clamp, these happen to be some Earls. I think these are going to be a little too big for our application, but no ribs in there, right there. I really need to get some better lighting right here, but yeah, this is what they look like. They're a little different the way they clamp down. This presses and has a smooth surface, but a very, very strong bite. So that's the difference between a traditional hose clamp and a high pressure hose clamp. Throw that in there. We'll return back to that here shortly. So things I'm going to need out of this, possibly this chunk of hose, because I think I'm going to end up cutting the curves out of it. I don't know what this install kit is actually meant to be used for. So if anybody knows what that part number actually goes in, let me know in the comments below. So yes, we're going to need this. I'm not real sure what this is also. It's just more waste in your kit. You're definitely going to need the plug-in. That's going to be needed. You're going to have to use the boot or the sock that comes with the install kit, because the one that comes with your sending unit, in my case, 90% of the time will not fit. It's a bigger opening on the 340. So there are things you're going to want to use out of the install kit though. The boot that goes on the pump, the sock, the dampener, I go ahead and slide that on there. I use this on about every one of them. It's a very nice insurance. It does keep some of the vibration down in the pump, which is nice. Like I said, the sock you're not going to use. They do send you a piece of pipe. I'm not sure what this is rated for. I'm sure it's rated for 40 to 60 pounds. Because I think TPI units are like 43 pounds. So I'm sure it's rated for more than that. It does come with pinch clamps, so you've got that tool. You could probably go ahead and use this and then pinch clamps. I don't necessarily have that. Also comes with a rubber damper that goes down in here for your pump. We will not be using that. We'll be using this one that fits the Walbro pump. And then they give you a new tank O-ring and a tank lock, which we will be using that when it goes into the tank. So you guys can keep this stuff around, throw it away, keep it for different projects. I have a bag of different fuel injection stuff, so alright, don't need that boot either. For this, I'm probably actually going to use this. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I might actually have enough hose if I cut that. Yeah, we should be. So go ahead and set that in there. Now this is where you want this to set in here square. And with that dampener on, you do run into an issue of it not fitting so square. And you want to be able to set this into your sender. And it does fit, but towards the edge there. But the problem is that your pump's not going to fit real well. So go ahead and pop that cap off. So yeah, it will fit, but your pump is not setting perfectly into the spot there. I like to line the inlet and outlet in too. So this one might actually work. I may not have to do much trimmage to it, but I will probably still open that up some right in here. So I'm going to go open that up, and I will come back when I've got that opened up. Alright guys, as you can see that's opened up. Make sure you're not got any burrs or anything that's going to hurt your pump. I just opened mine up a wee bit bigger there. Sometimes these get bent around a little bit because this is pretty thin stuff, and you may have to massage it a little bit to get your pump to fit in there really well. Alright, so we're going to set that in there. Okay. So that sets in there pretty good. Guys can go ahead, you want to put the lip downwards into your tank. And this kind of, you get that set in there relatively good. It's kind of, can be a pain sometimes. You can go ahead and zip tie this into place if you want to. Actually, in this situation, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, because the filler tube does not 100% line up real well with that. Too bad this wasn't a little bit shorter of a curve, because it'd be perfect. But anyways, actually I think this is a bit bent anyways here, so I'm gonna go ahead and give her, yeah, there, yeah, it was just a bit tweaked, like I said. As you guys can see, that's a bit tweaked as well. That's not square. So yeah, it's kind of cheap stuff. But yeah, now you guys can see there is a nice straight shot. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but there's a nice straight shot. So I can put a hose in there right quick. So I am probably going to have to use, like I said, you probably could actually use this. This is plenty long enough. I'm sure this is heavy enough. So you guys are with me here. So we're gonna use this. We'll be the guinea pig. We'll test this. Shouldn't have a problem with it. Anyways, so actually you could probably use the, go ahead and pull this little cap off here. We'll be the guinea pigs. We're gonna run this. I'm gonna go ahead and use two of my, slid on it really nice, two of them high pressure hose clamps. I'm gonna grab a couple here out of my kit. Should have done this off camera, but this is a low budget production here, so that's 12 to 14. We'll do 14 to 16. I happen to have two of those right here, which I believe, yeah, well, them 12 to 14, 12 to 14. So yeah, them are the same size as those. So we're out of the 13 to 15, which is what we actually need. Handy. But will it work? Oh yeah, those work. So actually, that must not be in the right spot. Yeah, because that's 10, 12. So we do have two 12 to 14s, which will work perfectly good for that. All right, I go ahead and try to face my hose clamps the same direction. And you want to orient. How would you say that? I'm having an English blank here. You want to orientate. There we go. Orientate them to the same direction. It makes life easier, and make sure they're oriented so you can use a screwdriver or nut driver to fasten them. So the easiest way is to slide up and go too far. Little silicone is always nice here. Okay, so you want to find a happy medium. You want it past the pump on the pump. You want to be below the flare on both of them. So, alright, so there you got that. And make sure, put a little pressure on that. I am going to actually probably put a zip tie around this to help hold the pump down. So, you guys see that there. Got both the screws there, or both the, well, that's pretty tight. Yeah. So, yeah, we have both those where you can get them. I'm going to go ahead and unfeed this, because we're going to routing this out here like so. We're going to cut this off and use our heat shrink butt connectors to splice in the correct connection. I use the heat shrink butt connectors because it's in fluid, and them seem to heat shrink. A lot of heat shrink breaks down in fuel. Hopefully I can remember what size these are off the cuff. And no, I can't. Maybe we have a winner. We do. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down. I don't get too crazy with these, really, because this is a plastic fitting on this pump. So yeah, where it's nice and squish in there. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. All right, we got that beauty set in there. Okay. All right, so it does spin a little bit, and you don't want that, so tighten this one down until it doesn't spin anymore. And it may still spin too. But you just want to make sure it doesn't have any. Yeah, it doesn't pull downwards. It'll still spin, but it will not. Alright, it's good and tight. So that shouldn't leak. As you guys can see, it's got a nice bend in it. That's because it's been dropped. I'm sure a lot of these lines are going to have to be reorientated. Alright, so I run the wiring. I normally will zip tie them down onto the tube. So first things first, we'll go ahead and plug our pump in. A lot of the pumps are labeled positive, negative, just to make sure your plug's not backwards. This pump doesn't seem to be. I'm not real sure if any of these pumps have been labeled. I don't know, but I know a lot of the aftermarket ones and stuff are labeled. So now the next thing is you want to leave a little slack in this, not a lot. You don't need a lot. Go ahead and fight that some more. Get this on the same side here. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and find a good spot here. Go ahead and trim. The same length works with this, just because the fact that we're adding the butt connector in, so that'll give you a little bit of space too. So we're gonna go ahead and come back a little bit and give ourselves a little slack. Okay, so we got the old plug, that's the toss away item, and then some extra wire. So we'll go ahead and strip these. I can't remember what gauge these are. This looks like 14 gauge. Okay, might be a little smaller than that. Actually, might be a little heavier than that. But it's going into something that's not real heavy at all. This is adequate power for the standard application that this pump's doing. It's just feeding an LT1, an old school LT1. So we'll go ahead and use 2 red heat shrink butt connectors. I picked this kit up off of Amazon. Not being sponsored by them or anything. This is a really nice kit for the money. It comes with the really tiny ones for the little 26-24 gauge. Your reds, your blues, and your yellows. This is pretty inexpensive. I think it was under 30 bucks. So I gotta go ahead and I give these always a good twist. Yeah, you could solder these connections and solder them, heat shrink them. Like I said, a lot of heat shrink does break down under fuel. I've tested quite a few just dunking heat shrinking connections in fuel, just because I was curious, and I've had the best luck with these under. And you really actually can use a non-heat shrink, but I just like sealing my connections a little bit. Make sure you hook black to black, red to red, or you'll have problems. Black comes up here and grounds to your case, so that's obviously your pump ground. And then red is your power, which is gray, I believe, on this sending unit. Okay, this wire is a little bigger, and we are going to have a little bit of an issue with it. I didn't get all the pieces, strands of copper in the sleeve, but that's not the end of the world. I don't recommend doing this on a sending unit that has already been in the tank, because if you heat gas, I'd just crimp it and forget it. But being this is a brand new sending unit, I'll go ahead and do it. cordless heat gun, pretty nice to have. It does take some time compared to one that plugs in. So them are all done. Still a little warm, so be careful with that. I'm gonna go ahead and grab me a couple zip ties. Or probably just one zip tie that there, and zip tie the pump there. Also a good idea to put this back on your pump, just to keep stuff from coming up in it. Then we will look at the tank, and I will orientate my sock, which 90% of the time they fit like this or like this. So, or sometimes they go like this. Actually, the instructions probably with the sending unit. Okay, it runs long ways with the. Actually, that doesn't even look like the picture doesn't even really look like my sender, nor does it look like the boot or the sock that comes with the other pump. They do come with the install kit. Does come with these too. You can use these. That's fine too. Comes with a couple clips and plastic pieces that you don't really need to use. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and remove this off of here. Doesn't really need to be on there. Alright, now it's looking like a fuel pump. So that's pretty much it. Other than looking at your pump, putting a couple zip ties on there, and putting it in the pump. So we'll cut you guys back on in a second when I get the pump out of the, or not the pump, get the tank out of the box, and we'll figure out how the socket's orientated. Alright guys, so I looked at the pump. The sump runs this way. So I'm thinking the best, and the sender sets down in this tank like this. I think the best way to run it is like this. So installing a fuel pump sock is very simple. Go ahead and get it out of your bag. And just go ahead. Actually, I'm going to set it this way. Well, I'm going to run it this way because I don't want to block off the return. Actually, I'm going to see down in there what way. Looks like it has the most room. Actually, I might put it at an angle. If it bends a little bit, that's not horrible, but you kind of want it setting towards the back of the pump. So that's probably not a bad location right there. So now we will go ahead and this is the fun part. Fighting everything down in there and not ripping anything. Okay. Set that down in there. And line up the tabs and perfect. Now it'd have been even more perfect if I'd have put the O-ring in there. So then pop that back out again. A nice test fit. It does fit down in there pretty good. So just be careful taking this in and out. For one, not to rip your sock, and two, not to hurt your wiring. So yeah, probably better. I don't think that really affects it if that's covered, but I think it does. So I'm going to try the grommet that come with the kit for the sender, and if that doesn't work, I have the O-ring that came with the tank. And sometimes this is best to be put on before you put the sock on. Put this on over here. Alright, get that on there. A lot of times these O-rings are very thick. It can be difficult to put on, or difficult to get. Setting in there good. Then you have your lock ring. It goes over all of your hoses and your wiring. Pain. Alright, so there's 3 tabs. You want to make sure they all start good. And a nice punch and hammer. Tap that in. Nice punch like that. I'm using a 24-ounce hammer. And as you guys can see, I'm going to spin all the way around. Until your locks are all the way in, so like that. And now your sender is installed fully and all set up. I'm going to probably have to bend my lines a little bit because they're kind of wonky, but that shouldn't be a problem. Anyways, that's what it looks like with that installed. And there's also a nice clip on this. I think this actually hooks to the back of the car and the plug is towards the back. So anyways, that's it. That's what it takes to put a sending unit for an LS swap if you have a factory EFI style tank. So yeah, that's one step process done for the Trans Am. Now we just need to clean up underneath the car a bit and get it stuffed up underneath there. So alright guys, thanks for watching and we'll catch you guys next time.